95 people died in the building collapse in Bangkok on March 28, 2025. The earthquake that brought it down struck in Myanmar, more than 1,000 kilometers away. Bangkok's governor surveyed the city afterward. 169 buildings had minor cracks. None had collapsed. The city's infrastructure had held, except for one building. When only one building falls in an entire city, the question is not why the earthquake was powerful. The question is, what was different about that building? The building was a 30-story government tower in the Chatuchak district of Bangkok. It was being built for Thailand's State Audit Office, the agency responsible for detecting waste and corruption in public spending. At the time of the collapse, it was 30% complete. The contractor was a joint venture called ITDC Rec. The Thai partner was Italian Thai Development, ITD, one of the largest construction companies in the country. The foreign partner was China Railway No. 10, a subsidiary of a Chinese state-owned enterprise. Under Thai law, foreign firms cannot own more than 49% of a local joint venture. China Railway held exactly 49%. ITD built much of modern Bangkok, the BTS SkyTrain, portions of the MRT Underground, the Rama VI Bridge, Suvarnabhumi International Airport. Between 2015 and 2025, ITD secured 213 state construction contracts worth a combined 134.7 billion baht. It was one of the Thai government's most relied upon contractors. The president of ITD was a 71-year-old man named Premchai Karnasuta. In 2019, he was convicted of poaching protected wildlife, caught by rangers at a jungle campsite, with the carcasses of a black Indo-Chinese leopard, a Kalaj pheasant, and a barking deer. He served roughly 3 years in prison. When he was released, he returned to lead ITD. The SAO building was one of the projects under his company's watch. 2 months before the collapse, the Thai government threatened to cancel the contract. The building was behind schedule. The warning was issued in January 2025. Construction continued. Bangkok is built on river delta sediment. There is no bedrock close to the surface. When seismic waves travel through soft ground, they slow down and amplify. The same energy compressed into a shorter distance, like water piling up when a wave hits a shallow shore. Engineers who build in Bangkok know this. Every high-rise in the city is designed with this in mind. The building codes account for it. The foundations account for it. On March 28, 2025, every building in Bangkok that was designed correctly remained standing. One did not. 3 separate things were known about this project before the earthquake. Each one was known by a different party. None of them were connected until the building was already in the ground. The first thing, the steel used in the construction came from a company called Shinke Yuan Steel, a factory in Rayong province about 2 hours from Bangkok. In December 2024, 3 months before the collapse, Thai authorities shut the factory down. The reason, a gas tank leak accident at the facility. Authorities seized more than 2,400 tons of steel from the site. Shinke Yuan's production method used induction furnaces without a secondary purification step. The result was steel contaminated with impurities, steel that did not meet Thailand's mandatory industrial standards. 2 separate tests on samples from the SAO site confirmed this after the collapse. Both failed. The factory was closed. The steel was inside the building. The second thing, investigators examining the construction documents found forged signatures. An engineer filed a police complaint, stating that his name and professional credentials had been used to certify a set of construction plans. He'd never worked on the project. Someone had signed his name. That document was used to authorize construction on a 30-story government building. The third thing, before the earthquake, the Anti-Corruption Organization of Thailand, an independent watchdog, had already flagged concerns about this project to the State Audit Office directly. They informed the client. The agency that was going to move into the building received a warning about the building being built for it. The State Audit Office did not answer questions from journalists about whether it had considered canceling the contract after receiving that warning. 3 separate parties knew something was wrong. The information did not reach the building, or if it did not stop anything. The SAO building was not the first ITD structure to fail that month. On March 15, 2025, 13 days before the SAO collapse, a section of an elevated expressway under construction collapsed onto a road in Bangkok. It was part of the Rama III Dao Kanong Expressway project. 7 people were killed. 27 were injured. That project was also an ITD joint venture. 2 collapses, same company, 13 days apart. The SAO project was not paused. No additional inspections of ITD's active sites were publicly ordered. Construction continued on the 30-story building in Chatuchak district. 13 days later, the earthquake arrived. Within hours of the collapse, 4 Chinese workers were detained near the site. They had entered the disaster zone and were attempting to remove 32 documents from the rubble. They told police they needed the paperwork to file an insurance claim. Rescue workers were still inside the debris searching for survivors. They were given suspended sentences for breaching disaster zone rules. The documents were not publicly identified. Meanwhile, China Railway No. 10 deleted every post about the SAO project from its official WeChat account, including a celebratory post from 2024 marking the structural topping out of the building, which the company had called its first super high-rise project. The post had been captured before it disappeared. In China, searches for Bangkok and tower on domestic social media returned near empty results. Posts questioning the structural quality of Chinese-led projects abroad were deleted. A former editor at the Global Times wrote publicly that the building probably had quality issues. That post was deleted within hours. Even the phrase people use to describe it, "tufu dreg construction," the term in Chinese for dangerously shoddy building work, became a blocked search term. The company celebrated the building when it was going up. When it came down, they erased the record that it had ever existed. 320 workers were inside the SAO building when it collapsed. Most of them were not Thai. They were migrant workers, primarily from Myanmar, along with workers from Cambodia and Laos. Many had fled Myanmar after the 2021 military coup, crossing the border to find work in Thailand's construction industry. The subcontractor who employed the majority of these workers was a company called SA Construction. Of the estimated 900 migrant workers SA Construction had working on the SAO site, 59 were registered with Thailand's Social Security Office, 59 out of 900. For the workers from Myanmar whose families could not travel to Thailand, the forensic division had to coordinate with the Myanmar embassy to collect DNA samples from relatives at home, so that the bodies could eventually be identified and returned. They built a government building. No government mechanism had been tracking whether they existed. I personally think the Bangkok story is not a story about an earthquake. The earthquake was the occasion. It was not the cause. The cause was a procurement system that selected the lowest bidder, then handed the contract to a joint venture structured specifically to keep a foreign state-owned company 1 percentage point below the legal ownership threshold. The cause was a supply chain that reached a factory that had been shut down for safety violations and kept running anyway. The cause was construction documents that carried the names of engineers who had never seen them, and the cause was that 3 separate parties, the watchdog, the steel inspectors, the engineer whose name was stolen, each knew a piece of this, and the pieces never reached anyone with the authority to stop it. There is one detail in this file that I think closes it more clearly than any other. The building was for the State Audit Office, the agency whose job is to find exactly this kind of thing. Public money spent wrong, oversight bypassed, corners cut on government projects. The agency received a warning about its own building. It did not act on it. After the collapse, the Thai government introduced a contractor report card system to track the safety record of companies working on public infrastructure. New rules on foreign nominee structures entered review. Lowest bid procurement policy came under formal scrutiny for the first time in years. All of that happened because 95 people died in a building that was being constructed for the government office responsible for making sure this does not happen. 1 year after the collapse, the chairman of the Anti-Corruption Organization of Thailand said this publicly. It has been a year, and the investigation report has not been fully disclosed. There is a lack of clear, detailed accountability. That is not my characterization. That is the anti-corruption watchdog's characterization, on the record, about the building they warned about before it fell. This is document 3. This is what is in the file. The next file is Italy. In 2018, a highway bridge in Genoa collapsed during the afternoon rush hour. 43 people died. An inspection report recommending urgent structural intervention had been submitted 2 years earlier. The company that operated the bridge had received it. The question in the Genoa file is the same one that runs through every file on this channel, not what failed. What was decided, and by whom, before anything had a chance to fail. If you want to read that file when it opens, subscribe to Global Construction Files.